Okay, you're all eager to see it live, and that's good. So let me see that I prepare my desktop accordingly, and I will explain in a second what type of windows we are seeing. So basically here on the left-hand side, you see my mobile phone. This is basically the client connected with a mobile phone. You will see the emails that are coming in, and you will see later on that we will be uploading a missing document through the mobile phone. On the right-hand side, that's the main screen where the client representative, the client rep, is on the phone with a client collecting the information and working basically on the task. And last window that I will bring up when it's time is a desktop, a Windows desktop. That's where the RPA bot is being executed. And it will happen relatively fast, but you will see that the bot, and I will not type anything, so the bot will launch a Java application that simulates the client management system, and it will put in the information about the client. And then when it did this, it will close that Java app, and it will bring up a browser where it will put in the services that this client wants to subscribe to. And this will also happen automatically. When it's done, it closes the browser. So normally you wouldn't see that. It's just for demonstration purposes. This is an unattended bot, which means it runs automatically. It needs a Windows machine, but no one will be connected to this Windows machine. It will be the RPA bot executing this in the background. Here we are just showing it so you get a feel for how it looks like. So let's do the first scenario first, which is the fully automated one. And we have a client who's on the phone. The client name is Automation Elite Inc. So we put in the name here. And as I mentioned, we don't want to type all these fields manually, but we know Automation Elite Inc. We have worked with them in the past. So let's search for them. And this connects to the workflow system, retrieves the data about this client. And for the demo purposes, I will put in a different email address that will be shown then on my phone here. And you see first name, last name, and so on and so forth. And then at the bottom, there's some information about the age of the company, how long are they in business, how many employees they have, what's their annual revenue, did they have a defaulted payment in the past. So this is taken into account to calculate the service fees, but also to make the risk assessment later on. And then the last section is the one that we need to care about right now. This is what are the services that the client wants to onboard to. And Automation Elite Inc., they want to onboard to some of our finance services. And specifically, they're interested in the corporate credit card program for their employees. So we are selecting this, and then we need to calculate the service fees. And as I mentioned, this reaches out to our, let me see if I clicked, okay, now it worked. This reaches out to the decisions capability, specifically automation decision services. It came back with the service fees, and it came back with the recommendations for upsell opportunities. And let me just show you, if I select something else, hit it again, the service fees change, the recommendation change. We just want to do the corporate credit card. So I go back here and I can modify things here to see how the results change. With having the first page completed, I click here to review the documents that are required for this request. And you basically see here at the bottom, this is pulling in the documents that we have about Automation Elite Inc. from our content repository. And as we have done business with them, we already have a lot of information about them. Here in the top, we need to specify which documents are required for the onboarding of the credit card service. And in our case, we're saying, okay, we need the banking information. And before I click verify, I could have brought this up. Let's quickly have a view here. So we can bring up the viewer, we can look at the document, let it load quickly, and we can browse through, and okay, that's okay, we verified that. The certificate of incorporation we don't need here for this case, and the primary contact ID, we have it here, we can bring it up, so it's verified as well. Last step on that page is to select which of the documents to carry over into the approval process that we will start in a second. So let me check these two here because we want the banking information, we want the primary contact ID, but we don't need the certificate of incorporation. Bring that back in the foreground. And so what we are going to do is I will submit that request in a second. And before I do that, let me mention again, I will quickly flip over to the RPA desktop in a second, because in the background, this is the fully automated case where the scoreboarding, all documents are there that are needed, and this one is not required. The scoreboarding will result, as we will see, in a high confidence that this is a low risk service onboarding request. So we will automatically approve it. And then as the second last step, the backend systems will be updated with the information about the client and the service to be onboarded. And that's what we will see happening here in this RPA VM. And then we go back to the client representative view here with the final step, which is the notification for the client rep that the onboarding was completed successfully. So let me hit the submit button. You get a screen that shows that it got submitted, you get a reference ID, but now I need to quickly move here. And when we wait a second, now I have no hands on keyboard, and hopefully in a second, you will see the bot kicking in and starting the first application. So we're seeing here, this is the Java application, all the information is put in. Here's a little bit of a delay to just see it. Now it will close it. It will bring up the browser, log into the service management system, and it will put in all the information, update that, and will close the browser again. So this is basically what happens normally in the background, not seen by anyone, but removing the need for a user to type and retype this information, doing copy-paste errors, and so on. So that's what's happening here with the RPA bot. So let me go back to this page here. We start a new request. This is when we do the second example. And there are two things that happened. You might have seen it here on the left-hand side. This is the mobile phone of the customer. They received an email, and let's bring that up. It basically says that their onboarding request with a reference ID that we saw before has been approved. So welcome, basically. So that was successful because this was the automatic case. And let's see here for the client representative, they have their work list basically. And when it refreshes, we should be able to see that there is a task for them. Here it is. It's a notification that the request was completed for Automation Elite Inc. So let's bring that up quickly. And we should be able to see the 4 steps that we discussed before. There was a stage or step document review. All documents were there, so no manual interaction necessary. The scoreboarding took place where the client was put into segment 1. This was basically based on revenue figures. But also there was the risk assessment taking place. And you see here the risk was judged as low risk with a confidence of 97%, so extremely high, and our cutoff is 75%. So whenever the confidence is above 75%, if it's a low risk application, we will automatically approve it. And you see it here, the approval status is approved. If it is below 75% and it is a high risk, then we will automatically reject that application. You have access to all the onboarding information that we put into the app here with the additional information around company age, number of employees, and so on. And you also have access to all the documents. So for example, we can just quickly bring up the driver's license. So we could have a look at that here or on the banking information. You can also look at the activities that got executed. For example, here we see that the scoreboarding was performed, when it was performed, that the update of the backend system was performed. This is what we saw on the Windows desktop, the RPA bot doing the backend system update. And we are right now at the notification stage. That's why this was started, but is not yet completed. And here you see the third step was the backend system, and now we are in the last stage, the notification stage. If there would be any manual activities that the client rep could do after approval, they could start them here. We don't have any at this point, but that would be the place where they can do any start any manual activities, for example. And then for auditing purposes, there's also the history view with some additional activities, like when the comments got added here automatically. So you have a full view of that onboarding request. But we are fine. We are okay. This client was approved, so nothing else to be done. So we are just completing this onboarding request activity, and that completes our first walkthrough through the fully automated version of the flow. Any comments, questions before I get to the version where we have manual knowledge worker intervention? Doesn't seem to be the case, so let's move on here quickly. And let's do the second round. And here we have a different client who's on the phone with a client representative. This client is Legacy Consulting. Same thing, we worked with them in the past, so we can look up their details. Let me quickly put in the correct email address so that I can receive that email on my mobile phone. And scrolling down, you see here they are longer in business, but they have fewer employees. They have a much smaller revenue, and they had a defaulted payment. And you will see that all these information will have an impact on the scoreboarding. They are interested in some healthcare services that we are offering, and specifically the employee benefits plan and the mental health care. Same thing as before, we are calculating the services fees, and we're getting back some additional upsell opportunities, but we're good at this point, so we want to proceed to review the documents that are required. And here you see, obviously, the documents that we have on Legacy Consulting are being pulled, and we could look at them again, which we will not do at this point, but we can say, okay, the banking information is there, so we verified that. The certificate of incorporation is important, so we verified that. But okay, there is no primary contact ID, so we leave that pending. But we want to include these two documents into the approval flow that will be created when we hit the submit button here. This is what I'm going to do now. Hopefully in a second get the confirmation screen. Did not happen, but that isn't that much of a problem. Maybe there was a bit of a refresh problem or so. But what you already noticed is that an email arrived for this legacy consulting company that I'm logged in now as a user here. And let's quickly switch over here. So let's bring up that email. And the email basically tells us that Focus Corp needs additional documents to process their request. And it also lists what type of document they need. It's the primary contact ID. So the next step is that we need to upload that ID, and we need to copy the reference ID for use. You will see that in a second. So what we are going to do is we will now use our mobile phone to upload a fake driver's license here to be used. So let me use my mobile phone, and we have a mobile capture solution here. We don't have a specific Focus Corp app because we did not develop one and publish one to one of the app stores, but we have a generic app that can be used to demo these things. So what we have here is a scenario for uploading a US driver's license, and let me do that. And I have the driver's license up here. So let me see that I capture that. And next I need to upload the back of the driver's license, and let's see if that works. Yeah, and you see here it extracted all the information from the driver's license. Obviously, the driver's license does not contain our reference ID. That's what I'm going to enter here from the email that I got. And I will press next, and this basically uploads the driver's license to the case that the approval case that we created. So that's quick and easy. Let me go back to my email here for now. But what you also see here is that now we received a task, which is review the incoming client documentation for legacy consulting. And that's what we're going to do next. And this is the first part where we need human intervention. You could imagine to add some ML here that is able to read driver's license and do the matching. Is that something, a valid driver's license, and so on. Here in our case, we have a knowledge worker, the client representative, as you can see here from the icon, reviewing that. Okay, he sees, okay, it's the primary contact ID I'm interested in. So let me bring that up quickly. Let me view that. And it's basically what we just captured using my mobile phone. So we can review that here. We can also have a look at the properties. Let's do that. Again, you will then see, okay, here we go. You see that all the extracted data is there. Okay, the reference ID that we put in, the customer or client that is related to that, it's the first name, last name, the identification number, everything got filled in. So we are good with that. And you see we're in this first stage here, document review. The approval status is under review still. But now we can go ahead and say, okay, we verified the primary contact ID. As soon as I hit the complete document review button, what will happen is that the scoreboarding is executed. Remember, that's where we apply ML and some rules to see what the risk is and what the segmentation is we want to put this client in. So let's hit the complete document review button. And this will execute the scoreboarding now, which has two results basically. And let's see which one happens first. We will get a task here in a second showing up, and the email also arrived. So let's bring up the email first before we look at the task. So this email basically keeps the client informed, saying, okay, we need to review your request manually by one of our account managers. That may take 2 or 3 business days before that is completed, and we will keep you informed. So need to quickly refresh here as the task did not immediately show up. So let's go back here. And this gives us the review client onboarding request for legacy consulting. Let's bring that task up, and you will see that here we are now in the role of the account manager. We are still in this scoreboarding phase or stage. Here is the scoreboarding result. We put this client into the segment 2 based on their revenue. We mark this as a high-risk onboarding request, but the confidence is just 86%. So it's below our threshold of 75% when we would have automatically rejected this request here because it's high risk. So that's why the account manager needs to review that. You have access to exactly the same information, documents, the onboarding information, and just to show you how the rules and the ML model works. In the background, I just increased the annual revenue. I can do a recheck of the score. Let me collapse that section. I do a recheck, and you see that it still is a segment 2 client because our cutoff is 50 million, I think. But it is now a low risk application, and we have 100% confidence that it's low risk. But let me change that back, that's just for demonstration purposes, to 4.5 million. Let's recheck the score. And you see we're going back to high risk 86%. And this basically leads to the account manager to reject that application. What will happen next is, again, the RPA bot is invoked. And I will show the desktop once more, and you will see one difference. The difference is, as we are rejecting this request, we are just going to update the client management system. So this Java-based application with the information about the client. But we will not launch the web browser with the services management system, because as we are rejecting, we don't onboard the customer to any services. So the bot knows that it should just automate the first piece, but skip the second piece. So let me do the reject and quickly change back to the RPA desktop, and hopefully in a second you will again see the Java application pop up getting filled, but then when it's closed, there will be no web application being launched. So we put in all the information about the client, but now we are closing this, and let's wait 2 or 3 seconds, but you will see that nothing happens. So the browser-based application is not launched. So there is basically a condition in the bot that says if we are rejecting, then we don't really update the services this client subscribes to. So let's get the RPA window out of the way. And you've seen in the background 2 things happened. First thing is the customer or the client received another email. Let's bring that up. It informs us that your onboarding request was rejected. You can get in touch with us to discuss what went wrong, for example. But then the second thing that happened is that the final notification task was created. When we bring that up, we will see again that we are the client rep. This is the last stage where we get notified about the results. We see the scoreboarding here. We see the comments, and we see that this was rejected. This could, for example, trigger to reach out to the client so they are not too unhappy, but discuss with them what other opportunities we could offer. Then it's not implemented that way, but then you could potentially start such an activity here that needs to be done in such a case. And with that, we are completing the onboarding request. And that basically completes the live demo of the 2 paths that we have through the client onboarding scenario. The one is the fully automated one, and the other one is basically where we have knowledge worker involvement. That is in our scenario based on the fact that the ML model in the background didn't have enough confidence in its recommendation or its decision. So we involved an account manager here to make the final decision. Let me pause here again. What you will have as an opportunity is right after we close this session, you can go off and start exercising this yourself. I think there are multiple purposes of doing that, and that's why we recommend to start with it. First, it's a totally different experience if you do it yourself than just to look at it and listen to me speaking and performing these steps. Second, maybe that's an opportunity to learn and practice capabilities that you might want to show to your clients or colleagues. So it gives you the hands-on experience from an end user's perspective to really see how multiple components or products from within the Cloud Pak for Business Automation come together to really provide an end-to-end solution to a use case. Last point here before I stop for a moment is you might have noticed we are not claiming that this is a client onboarding that is 80% complete. Maybe it's 10% or 20%, because the reason why we show this is to showcase capabilities and to spark the imagination of what is possible. It's not an asset that you tweak here and there and then you have a complete onboarding solution. The benefit in our experience is with this approach, the customer will not go into discussions like, hey, for me, this step is slightly different and I need 1.5 steps more. They normally, and we can spell it out directly, but they normally get that it's for demonstration purposes. It's not meant to reflect their client onboarding largely, but it gives them the opportunity to understand how things work and how they can adapt things to their needs. So let me pause here and see if there are comments or questions. And don't be shy. I think I didn't hear